Hello, I'm just going to be showing off some of my Wahl-Eversharps pins. Kind of a little bit of a video show and tell, which I don't usually do. Probably know more of my stuff from just the photographs I take of it. I think probably one way of going about it, I'll go ahead and get some of my pin cases opened up since that's where some of my stuff is. Without, of course, knocking over every little thing I have. Any walls in here? I got a couple little guys here. This is not a wall, but I could probably use that as a comparison in a minute. And these are, oh, there's another one. And put you here. And get you off to the side. A little pencil. There's another pencil. And here's another pencil. Have any more pencils? Probably not. Let's see. And then the side here. Oh, there's one more wall. Alright, so we got, and put all you guys over here for a second. It's a little bit of everywhere. Alright, use my microfiber cloth to kind of just put you guys aside here. Get you ordered in age. Let's see. Over here. The pencils over here. Put you over here. Alright. Okay. Guess I can show off the littlest guy. Let me get my little palm guard here. If you ever noticed that if you're writing with a pen and you get down to the middle of the page and it starts skipping like crazy, it's usually because the oils on your palm are deposited on the paper, and ink is water-based and water and oil don't like to mix. So if you ever notice that you start getting hard skips right in the middle of the page, try putting an index card or a sheet of paper under your palm and see if that fixes it. Alright, first up, one of my latest walls is this tiny little miniature. It is a 214AW. Now the way that Wahl did their model numbers back in, I think up until probably the 30s, is that they did it by the length of the pen, in this case about 2 inches, and then the second number was the nib size, and in this case this is a 0 nib, but they put it as a 1 in their catalog. And then the third number is the pattern. In this case this is a checkerboard design, so that's pattern number 4. And so then you got A for gold filled, and then W because this is a ring top. I had some speculation that because they did not have a word or a letter designation for clip, other than maybe C on some of the military clip, I suspected that they chose W for the ring top, probably because they intended it for women. Of course, a lot of manufacturers back then, especially in marketing, were quite sexist when they came to marketing towards men and women separately, especially when it came to designs like pendant pins and so forth. Of course, back then, a grown man would not be caught dead writing with one of these unless they were a technician, I'm guessing. Right now, I have a PVC stack installed in this. Because the body is metal and the feed and the sack nipple is hard rubber, PVC will not affect this pen. If you put it in a celluloid pen, on the other hand, it will ruin the celluloid as the plasticizer softens the material. Right now I got this inked with RNK Scabiosa. So this is a Wahl. I get 214AW with a 14 karat number 0. And this is probably like a semi-flex. You get about 2 sizes up or so, and you get a nice wet flow to it. And this one does work on the back side, a much finer line. It's not too scratchy to use it that way either. Very useful if you have a really crappy paper and you just don't want to play with the very old. The downside to restoring these is that the metal barrel had an impression of threads on the inside, and the hard rubber over like the last 100 years or so would mold into that. So you'd have to use a considerable amount of heat, sometimes a little bit of ultrasonic, and go back and forth before they can soften up. If you're one of the unlucky fews, you may accidentally crack the hard rubber portion of the grip, and that would have been very sad. And this little guy I found in an antique store at the bottom of a little box of fountain pens. You know, most of them were kind of a little chunky, but this little gem's nice. I don't know if I'll keep it to use it, simply because it's really small, but posted is not bad. But you can see there's some wear from posting it, and some were a little more considerable than others, such as my previously smallest pen, which looks a bit bigger. This one is the 431 A. So 4 inches, a number 3 nib on it. Right there. That's a kind of a flexible fine. And the number 1 pattern is what they call the unique or dart. It's kind of a chevron look to it. And you can see there's some wear from posting. I put a small piece of Scotch tape on the end to help with the posting and to keep it from wearing further. So if I just kind of pop it there, you know, fits much more considerable in my hand. And this one doesn't feel quite like a pocket pen anymore compared to that little bitty guy. And pop this up. And if we move away from the all metal pens, I have a 1928, 29-ish little jade Wahl pen. It actually says Wahl pen on the clip, but my other one doesn't. And this one I got in a trade as a nice little number 2 14 karat signature nib. Signature is the name that Wahl gave its semi-flex nib that were intended for some personalized writing where you can kind of just quickly write through and it'd be kind of fairly consistent, but you could add a little flair in your dots, or like when you quickly write a signature, it would have that little bit of flair on the downstrokes, and supposedly that made it harder to forge your signature as opposed to a straight ballpoint. This one I also restored with a silicone sack. You can see there's a little bit of discoloring here and more in the cap where it would have been exposed to some ink. A lot of the older sacks had a chemical in it that would discolor the barrel as it would age and off-gas. I'm hearing that some of the newer sacks don't have that chemical. So in theory, they should not cause any discoloration or celluloid, but I still prefer to use silicone sacks. And in the same time period, is this roadwood example. And I sought this one out because I had a rosewood pencil that I really like. And then just 2 days ago, I picked up another one with a much darker color, very similar to the pen. I really like the rosewood look that they did. It's kind of a mottled red and black chasing there. And it's not quite a ripple. You know, it's supposed to imitate the wood, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. Not quite the same look as Waterman's. This is a Waterman 55, and this one got considerably larger nib and bigger pen too. I'm going to put these aside. This one I have inked right now, and I went with a PVC sack on this one because, again, hard rubber, ebonite, there's no plastic, there's no celluloid to worry about. This is all hard rubber and gold. And right now, I'm not sure what the model number was for this, but it was something like 7202 or something like that. And I know the trade one was like GR for green. I'm just going to call this a Wahl Rosewood. This one has a 14 karat gold number 2 nib. This is sort of a semi-flex needle point. It is a needle point if I use a lighter hand. Kind of like I was just kind of slide there. Could push further, but I don't like to. But on the upstroke, you can see that variation changing. And clip that in a little right hand. I don't think I could do the. Oh yeah, I could. Although it doesn't make much difference because it's a little drier on the backside. But I do really like the hard rubber look. And put that back in my case. Whenever I have my pens inked, I keep them in a case, kind of know. Next one up is this Wahl Gold Seal. This is called Lazulitic Blue. It's kind of a take on lapis lazuli. Got the little gold seal on the top. Am I in the camera view? Yep, I am. And the interesting thing about the gold seal is sometimes you'll find it with a hole punched through it. And that usually means that the warranty has been voided, such as if they brought it in for service. They punched that hole, and sometimes they would replace the nib with a warranted nib and then resell it as kind of a factory second. And the nice thing about this one is it actually has a flexible nib. It's actually written on the nib side here. And on the back side, it got the letter B imprinted on the feed because this is a broad nib. Probably 1929-ish. I would say 1929 because that's when they first started advertising the personal point nib. Now, personal point nibs are the threaded nib units. Although most people don't take them out because they are considered delicate. They could crack, but it's basically a hard rubber collar in there, and then the feed and nib would go in there. And you probably can't see it on this camera view, but the broad nibs, or the broad feeds, they will match to the nibs. The broad feed has 3 feed channels in there to allow for that extra flow, especially with this being a flexible nib. And if I squeeze that back in, I actually traded the collar from another one of my pens, which I'm going to show you next here. I absolutely just love this color. Put that here. This would be a slight bit later, probably early 30. This is an Eversharp Doric, jet black. This was a vacuum filler. Whoever had it before me, or probably even back then, something significant must have gone wrong with the pen because they turned it into a button filler. This is actually a dual fold blind cap, and you got a little button. You would normally be a trim right here, and then you would have a blind cap. It's not a blind cap, but it'd be an actual knob to pull out the vacuum rod. But just when you got a little button filler. Silicone sack inside so you can see through. And just like my gold seal, this one has a number 4 size personal point nib. You can probably see a little bit of the Waterman inspired blue on the barrel there. But yeah, this one is a signature nib for semi-flux, and it is a medium point. A lot of the vintages, though, if it's a broad, it will be equivalent of a medium western, and if it's a medium, it would be closer to what we would see as a fine nib. And pop that back in. I've always wanted a Doric, and I had a nice little green cashmere one, but the barrel cracked right in half on that one. A friend of mine who's now retired, he restored that pen, making it look like the crack never happened, and then reinforced it with a silicone sleeve so that it would be stronger. But I've wanted to get another one for a while, and I wanted to get the second generation that had the cap band right down to the lip, because it was very common that the previous version, that cap lip would be chipped off quite often. And the only thing you could deal with it was usually shave it down or just live with it. Alright, so that's the Doric 1930s. I also happen to have the pencil that goes with it. And then let's see what's the next on the line. I had a standard skyline, but I sold that recently. So I'm going to show you an early 1940s skyline. That is what they call Moire, M-O-I-R-E. A nice, striated celluloid. Get some transparency there. Very pretty pen. I actually stole the nib off of a later symphony because this has an actual modern Western broad on it. So this would have been like a double broad back then. It's got a nice big ball chipping on there. And of course I got the matching pencil. I would love to find this in either a blue or a green. The only issue I have with this one right now is the clip is not quite straight. Alrighty, what else do I have? And we go a little later than the skylines, you have the symphonies. It's probably early 50s, and this actually has the extra fine that was on that skyline. A lot of the symphony nibs, just like the Streamliner, they had 14 karat gold nib, but they were not always marked. And this was a nice little cheapie for a while. Whoever used it before, they jammed a nib all the way into the plastic, embedding the nib in between. I got that repaired before I put this nib in. And then if we go to the mid to late 40s, we have, this is probably going to look a little weird to you, but if you're a Parker 51 fan, you'll probably understand why they did this. These are Fifth Avenues. They got a nice little Art Deco design. This one's W-knot red or something like that. Got a very geometric shape on the foot. A little hooded nib. The older design literally had a skyline nib and feed in there, and it would actually fill the entire hooding, but that caused flow problems. So they changed it to a smaller nib and feed and put it in a collar that was the same size as the skyline, allowing it to flow a little better. But even though it still kind of runs dry, actually all of the Fifth Avenues I've tried have. The grips are threaded. You'll notice that, well, you probably can't see it on the camera, but this does have a small crack in there, and these are known for cracking there as the plastic shrinks around the threading. Right. So, for example, I got this here. I go ahead and kind of unscrew that. A little tight here. You go a little slow. This is probably the one I haven't restored yet. There you go, I can feel it getting smaller. There we go. Oh, that's the one I restored. So there's a threaded grip, as you can see, it's kind of plastic coming off there. Usually the best thing to do is apply a little bit of heat before you try to unthread them. Because they do shrink and the stress of it can crack the plastic. And these are basically the same plastic as the Eversharps Skyline, which are pretty brittle. Once it gets near the end of that threading, it'll get softer. There you go. And these are snap caps. A little clutch ring there. First, if I can click on that. Yeah, this is the one I have not restored yet. I actually have a whole service manual on how to get all the parts out on these. Let's see here, so I've already showed you all of those. Shows you the wood grain. Then we got the pencils. I think that's about it on the walls. And they are not my biggest pens, of course. Probably my bigger ones are going to be like the Schaefer oversized balance. Comparatively speaking, even though it's about the same thickness, it's definitely shorter. Of course, if you want to talk about big, here's your big boy. The modern Platinum Zumo. Kind of a tiny little nib for a big body though. But out of all of them, I like my walls the best. Schaefer is probably a close second on the benches side. I used to have a few Conklins. Got a couple Parkers. But as far as this guy goes, then you got nice little Parker Vacuumatic. So maybe I'll show off my Schaefer in the next video.